Welcome to the Bothell City Council meeting of July 16th, 2019. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All council members are here except Councilmember McAuliffe, who's absent and excused. Meeting agenda approval. I do have one thing I need to pull because staff is not ready tonight to do it, and that's AB 19-124 amendments to the existing consent decree with Washington State Department of Ecology and the settlement agreement between the City of Bothell Service Center Associates related to the cleanup of Bothell Service Center Simons and Sons site. That's a long title. So anyways, we're going to pull that item. Is there anything else any other changes to tonight's agenda? Councilmember Zorns?
Yes, I'd like to pull item number AB 19-120 for comment
Okay.
or clarification.
And Mr. Mayor,
19-120.
the city is asking that the AB 19-124 be continued to the date certain of August 13th.
Do we need to take a vote on that?
Tacitly, just if you look around, if there's any objection to it.
We're just going to move it to our meeting, one meeting in August 13. Is everybody okay with that? Looks like it. Okay. Any other changes to tonight's agenda?
I would like to pull AB, 19-125.
Okay. Any other changes? Seeing none. Next on the agenda is reviewing public engagement opportunities. We have the Waste Mobile, July 26th to the 28th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Seattle Times Building, safe disposal of your household hazardous waste. Music in the Parks concert series, Fridays through August at North Creek Sports Field number 3 from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Just Kidding Around concert series, Wednesdays through August at the Park at Bothell Landing Amphitheater from 11 a.m. till noon. Coming soon to the Park at Bothell Landing, a pop-up fenced dog park, August 1st through September 15th. There will be a closing ceremony on September 15th featuring a costume pet parade. That's pretty cool. Okay. Staff briefings. The first one we have enhanced utility billing update with David Bickle. Oh, sorry. My bad. We're not ready for that yet. Snuck something in here. Here we go. All right, so there's a proclamation. I'll come down to the podium. Yes. Freshly inked proclamation for the police chief. You want to come over here? I know you'd love to go. So yeah, this is for Police Chief Carol Cummings. Whereas Chief Carol Cummings joined the Bothell Police Department on January 24th, 2011, and during her tenure reduced turnover, increased teamwork and job satisfaction, and adopted department vision, mission, and core values. And whereas under Chief Cummings' leadership, the Bothell Police Department became a state-accredited agency by the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs in 2015, and completed successful re-accreditation in 2019. And whereas Chief Cummings established the Risk Management Division, launched the police department's popular social media platforms, created the famous Coffee with a Cop event, and expanded the Cops and Clergy program. And they make these long on me, don't they, on purpose? On purpose. Whereas Chief Cummings championed the development and implementation of the grant-funded North Sound Radar Navigator program, which pairs a mental health professional and law enforcement officer on patrol, and committed to the City of Bothell to be the lead agency in the program. And whereas Chief Cummings is a tireless participant in numerous fundraising events, including the Refuse to Abuse 5K and the Special Olympics Polar Plunge, provides long-standing support to Dawson Place, Hope Link, and Night to Shine, and also fosters kittens for Seattle Feline. Really? Fosters kittens for feline rescue. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Rayam, the mayor of the city of Bothell, do hereby proclaim the city of Bothell appreciation to Chief Cummings, for her many contributions to the city and greater community, and wish her well in her future endeavors.
So there's really nothing I can say after that lovely, so, other than to say thank you so much. This has absolutely been the highlight of my career, working at the Bothell Police Department, serving this community, and working with the people, the men and women that make up the city staff, the council, and the department and the community. So thank you very much.
Did you guys want to say something too? I knew she would. Go for it.
I'm not prepared, but I just want you to know that we all adore you, and we're going to miss you terribly. You just bring this calm presence every time you're here and whenever I speak with you, and that will be sorely missed. But I hope you have a really great retirement.
Councilman Agnew.
Well, it's been a while. I remember the conversations we had at Starbucks when you were first taking this position, and I can tell you I am amazed at the accomplishments that you've made in this department since then. It's been unbelievable. The city's growing, and our public safety is growing. And we've gone from being small little municipality to professional departments that other departments look at with awe. Your work with the Navigator program, I've said it all along, I think is going to be instrumental in the way we start treating people in the field. I can't thank you enough for what you've done to the city. Thank you.
Councilmember McNeil.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, we've had the opportunity to work together on several projects. I'm going to speak to you a little bit from the heart tonight. There's a lot going on in the country right now. And people sometimes don't feel safe where they're at, in their home. And I can tell you, I've had the opportunity to work with you, watch you at work, and the things that you've brought to this department that make people that look like me, people of color, feel welcome here in the city of Bothell. And today that means a lot to a lot of people. So I want to say to you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for making myself and my family feel welcome and safe in this community, which means a lot. Thank you.
Councilmember Zorns.
Well, a lot of what I know of you has been observation of just our city as it's grown. And you have truly brought to our city a measure, a noticeable quality of making Bothell better. And it's not said lightly. And people who are made of great stuff, I'm like James, I'm going to be like, say, pass the Kleenex down here, because you're few and far between. And you are leaving big shoes to fill. That's a good legacy to have. The one thing that I would like your permission to do is that if we get this canine, we might be able to name it after you. Well, that's true. Well, but Carol can be, I mean, I think that Carol used to also be a male's name, right? A guy's name? So, at any rate, we'll work on the name. And thank you.
I don't want to say a whole lot because I'll just start blabbering up here, but I'm going to miss you dearly. You've been here this whole time with me, and it's been great. I think Erin's the only one. Erin's not even here, but she's the only other one that's been here the whole time with us. So you've been fantastic. You've always been on the rock, so I'm going to miss you a lot. But I think the coolest thing that you told me, though, is that you have everything lined up for your department. And I mean, that's a true leader that sets the thing up and knows when they walk away that they're going to continue on what you started. And I think that's huge for us. So thank you for everything you've done for us. Yeah. Okay, before I start crying, staff briefings, enhanced utility billing update for the second time. Analyst David Bickle.
Hello, so I'm David Bickle. I'm here with Jen Sukit, who has been with me on this project from day one. So we are extremely excited to announce that our enhanced utility billing project is going live on July 29th. We wanted to take a few minutes to talk about what's been going on behind the scenes and outline a few of the benefits of the project as well. So let me show you here some of the various components that built this, that were part of this project. It's very involved, comprised of several upgrades, system integrations, and business partners. Just showing a few of the mini projects which made up the full project here. So it's very complex sort of web of systems and integrations that comprise the entirety of the project. Oh, sorry. As you can see, very involved. If even just one piece of this web has an issue, the entire project has an issue. So we appreciate the patience of our management and the City Council and our citizens throughout this process. So I just want to take a few minutes and highlight a few of the more interesting pieces. So first, Tyler Cashiering. We're very excited about our slick new system for accepting payments in person and over the phone. Among many of the benefits, the largest is that payments will be accepted in real time using this system. Our current system, the old system, it could take days for payments to settle into our billing system, and that proved difficult for time-sensitive processes like past dues and shut-offs. Also want to call out the merchant system. So we partnered with sort of middleman relationship with AMS, that is automated merchant systems. So this will enable us to partner with several payment gateways without needing to enter one-on-one agreements with those companies. For instance, BridgePay is going to be our new credit card processor, Profit Stars for e-checks. And so working with AMS, it's excellent affiliation that allows us the cheapest processing and limits the number of contracts that the city has. Also wanted to call out the radio meter reading system. Not only did we implement a new billing system, we also implemented a new meter reading system. The old system was very quaint, very deprecated. So, for instance, in the old system, the readings had to be split into two because it couldn't handle all of our accounts. So we effectively had to do the read process twice in duplicate. And the new system is able to accommodate all of our meters in one go. And it will also have a greatly increased radio range, so our meter reading crew can effectively stay in their vehicle and just drive around the neighborhoods and collect the reads. Of course, everyone's excited about the online customer accounts. So the new online portal is able to accept online payments, obviously, but also provides historical inquiry for our customers into past bills and consumption. It's all right there at their fingertips. And then last thing I'll point out here is the paper-free bill archiving. So we're using a product called TCM. So when our bill is printed, that system will automatically parse that billing file and inject an exact copy of that bill into our system. So that copy of the bill is then available to customers to view online as well as in our system for our staff. And that's a big departure from the old system. Where if a customer called in with a question about the bill, we didn't have a copy of the bill in front of us, so it was kind of difficult to translate what we were seeing to what they were seeing. So now we see the same thing. It's really going to make it more efficient in helping customers when they have questions. So all this work has resulted in several benefits. A few of the most visible are we are accepting new payment methods, and we didn't remove any. So we're now able to accept e-checks, American Express credit cards, and customers optionally can enroll in recurring payments from either e-checks or credit cards. Our online system, again, provides online payments and historical inquiry into past bills and consumption. We are not going to be charging convenience fees on utility billing payments, which I think is awesome, because nothing irks me more than a $7.99 charge for paying your bill. Even through that, we're partnering with AMS is going to provide savings on our yearly credit card processing costs. And then throughout the implementation, we were able to align several of our business processes to current industry best standards, as well as the Bothell Municipal Code. The new radio meter reading system, as I mentioned, is much more efficient. So our reading process is used to take days, will now take hours. And then additionally, we are accepting check payments in-house now. We are certified in the banking industry to accept check payments. And that's going to allow a much faster response, questions around payments through check, because we have it on hand instead of having to work with the bank. It can take several days to research. The bill archival process that I mentioned before, that's all automated, and it will allow customers to sign up for paper-free billing if they choose. And then the last thing I'll call out is we've merged customer IDs. So if there's one customer that has multiple properties, for instance, a property management company, they're getting merged into one account number, whereas previously they had several. So they'll share a customer ID across all the accounts that they are on. So next, I'm going to have Jen talk a little bit about our immediate timeline.
All right, so on July 23rd, next Tuesday, will be our final day in the old utility billing system. And that'll also be the last day we'll be able to take utility payments in preparation for the go-live date. We expect minimal impact, as the most recent billing was due June 20th and past due statements were mailed out a couple of weeks ago. July 24th through 26th will be our blackout period, so no data entry in the old or new, to give our team time to review and implement the converted data. And then July 26th, customers will be sent 2 separate mailings on this day. The first is the blue mailer, and that's to communicate the new account numbers to our customers, as well as additional information for setting up online access and updating their banking information if needed. And then the second mailing is their last bill out of the current system for May and June usage. And that will be due on or before August 20th. And then July 29th will be our enhanced utility billing system go live date, including online payments. We'll have how-to videos and documentation posted to the Bothell website on the utility billing page. And September 20th is our first end-to-end bi-monthly billing out of the new system. And that'll be for July, August usage. And that will be due October 21st. And we'll have the new billing statement format.
Okay. And to close, I wanted to offer a sincere thank you to management and council for the support we felt throughout the project. And a huge thank you to the project team. Many departments, as you can see, many departments were involved. And this experience has truly been an awesome example of interdepartmental vision and exceptional teamwork. So thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions? Councilmember Zorns?
One, thank you for doing this. My husband's going to be very happy. I'm old school. I don't mind writing a check, but he likes doing everything online. You said there's no convenience fees.
Correct.
Are our credit support, are they going to be charging us per credit card that's run, or are they charging us a flat fee?
There is a per transaction fee, as well as a percentage fee. It's substantially lower than our current system
Okay.
on both accounts.
So we will save money in the end?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Councilmember Olson?
I was just curious how you were talking about when you're out doing the meter readings. Was it improvement in the transmitter or the receivers that you were able to improve it?
So the old system, they had sort of handheld devices, and the radio technology is very old in that. So the new system, even at our Bothell Operations Center, if we flick the switch on, we start getting reads. And if you know where our utility billing zone is, it's substantially far from that building. So that's the predominant changes the radio reads. But additionally, we have about 5,500 accounts, and we could only load around 2,500 in one go, so we had to do it twice. So it was just a matter of age.
All right, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
I want to thank you so much for your hard work. I heard a rumor that certain people's phones had to be taken away so that they wouldn't work on the weekends and all that. And I want you to know that it's really, really going to be fantastic for Bothell residents. I have a few people I have in mind that I know that will be thrilled. And I just want to thank you so much for your efforts. I know you worked really, really hard on this.
Thank you.
Were you looking at me when you said that the late notices went out? What? I thought you looked right at me. I just wanted to make sure.
No.
Okay. I did that one time. I felt bad. Well, thank you. I think that's a huge improvement. I appreciate all your hard work. And I know people are like, well, why can't you just get it done? And just finding out and knowing what you guys have been through, it's not easy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Special Events Coordinator Shelby Crow? And we stole you from Kenmore? Did we steal you from Kenmore?
You did.
Okay, cool. I like that.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Shelby Krogh, and I joined the City of Bothell team in April of this year as the Volunteer and Special Event Coordinator. So this evening, I'm just going to provide a really brief update on our volunteer and special event programs and provide a recap of our 4th of July parade. So first, I'd like to provide an update on our volunteer program. So one of the first tasks that I had when coming on board to this team was to do an evaluation of our current program. And it immediately became apparent that we're really lucky to work in a giving and collaborative community. We already have several hundred volunteers who help and give their time in our parks, in the office, and at events. And in my meetings with our internal staff, a lot of the questions that I had were, what is working? How can we better support our volunteers, and what would they like to see in the future? The next step is meeting with external partners, and that process has already started. So I've begun meeting with groups such as the North Shore School District, the North Shore Senior Center, the SHAG retirement community that's just joined the City of Bothell, some of our local churches, to get an understanding of how they'd like to be involved in the community and how they envision themselves giving back, and what processes we can put in place to make that easier and more obtainable. The next step that we'll be addressing in the fall and the winter is sitting down with individual volunteers who've been with us for a while or who want to engage with the City of Bothell and haven't yet, and get their feedback on what's important to them, why it's important to give back, what's really fueling their fire, and how we can engage them in the future. So once we have that feedback, the next step will really be to build a strategic plan for the volunteers. So this will be everything from creating policies and procedures to a handbook, to an operations manual for training, onboarding, offboarding, and creating retention and recognition policies and procedures. And once all of those are in place, which is an exciting step, we'll begin implementation of those programs internally, helping our staff with training and help them understand how we'll be moving forward with our volunteer program, as well as providing education to our current volunteers so they know what to expect as those changes come, as well as future volunteers as they're coming on board. Next, I'd like to provide an update on our special event program. So part of my role is to process special event permits from external community events. So this does not include internal city events. From some of the feedback that our staff and council received earlier this year, there was the creation of a special event review team. And this team is comprised of staff from almost every department within the organization. And we meet once a month to look over incoming special event applications, go through them from start to finish, determine what questions we have, what concerns we have, and determine which parts of the application are already complete. And then that feedback is given to me and then sent to the event organizers for review and hopefully for a collaborative process. And this process was created to help minimize the number of emails that were going back and forth between internal staff and external event organizers, as well as help keep internal staff on the same page about how we were going to move forward. So far, we've permitted 18 community events in 2019, and again, this doesn't include internal events. And we have 5 applications currently under review. For context, in 2018, we permitted 25 external events and several internal events. So we are right on track, and it's only July, so it'll be interesting to see where we're at in December. So looking forward, there'll be several steps that are going to take place, as you can see. One of those is internal and external stakeholder meetings. So a lot of great work has been done internally to get an understanding from staff about what we need, and those meetings will continue to happen. But it's time to take that to the next level and really begin to go out to our community, to meet with event organizers and community partners to get a better understanding about what parts of our special event permit process make sense and what works and what really doesn't work. It'll be great for us to get a better understanding of if there is an ease to that process, because our ultimate goal is for it to be customer-centric and for people to feel like Bothell is the place to be. It's a place to hold an event. It's a place to bring your family to go to an event. And we want that to be a seamless process. We want there to be communication from the get-go. And I think we have some room for improvement in our current process. So it'll be great to get that feedback from some of our external partners as well as our internal staff. Then in the fall, our hope is to come back to you all for a work plan session to get your feedback about what you would like to see as part of this process, where you think we should be and where should we be going. Once we have that feedback, we'll be doing a best practices review or SWOT analysis to see how we are doing in comparison to cities around us, and just get a better understanding of, I wouldn't call it competition, but really see what other cities are doing to bring events in and to help harness the energy that's already in their community. And the next step to that will be to build a new special event permit process and policies and procedures that go with that. And our goal is to bring something back to council for review and hopefully approval in the early part of next year. Once something's approved, we'll begin the implementation process, and the key part of this is an education process with event organizers who have worked with us in the past so that they know what to expect. And they will really be, our goal is that they will be a part of that process as we're building it. We want their input as we move along so that we know that our final product and our final goal and our final procedure is something that's going to work not only internally but externally as well. So next, I'd like to give a really brief recap on our 4th of July Freedom Festival. So it's estimated by our team that we had 8,000 to 9,000 spectators in the audience this year and over 1,500 Children's Parade participants, which is an amazing outpouring of support. We had 88 participating Grand Parade groups and an estimated 1,300 Grand Parade participants. This year, we were very lucky to be joined by Grand Marshals Becca and Will of Becca's Brews, as you can see pictured here on the right. And we were very excited to have them. They really just lit up when the parade started, and we're really lucky to have both of them as part of our community. I'd also like to point out that we had over 140 volunteers from Evergreen Church join us this year. This is the biggest group that has joined us in the last several years, and they've been with us for, I want to say 10 years, if that's correct, which is amazing. I mean, they give their energy and their love and support every year to make sure that we can put on a safe event and a friendly event and a fun event, and that the community can enjoy it. So we owe a lot of our thanks to them. And the last point I'd like to make is that our staff worked on planning this parade for about 6 months this year, and we're very excited to say that there were no major incidents. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You have a comment, Deputy Mayor?
I just want to thank everyone for their work on the parade. I had a blast. It was really fun riding in the back of the fire truck. And I think, I don't know, I didn't realize that many volunteers came from Evergreen Church. That's amazing. Yeah. That's really incredible. So thanks everyone for your hard work.
Councilor Olson.
Likewise, the parade this year and just all the events of the day were great and amazing. I mean, you could see their T-shirts everywhere that they were wearing. Is really, I liked how they were all coordinated, and you're like, oh yeah, there's. So yeah, they were just everywhere. And I'm just really looking forward to all the great work that you're going to do, because we've been talking about how it was just kind of the volunteer coordinator position was just something so needed, because there is such a outpouring, and we're blessed with, you know, so many volunteers in such a great community that if we can harness them and, you know, direct them, you know, positively and effectively, it's just amazing how they can supplement our own staff here that, you know, is doing so much on their own. But if we can just have the community augment and, you know, build on that, that's amazing. So, I mean, the sky's the limit with this program, I think. So I just look forward to the future reports.
Me too.
I said one quick thing to say, that it is a competition between the cities, that we have the best. So, but I've heard good things about you, though. I'm glad you came to work with us, and I'm glad you took this position. And it sounds like you're off to I wouldn't have done that in the first 3 months I was at a job. So good job. That's
Thank
really
you.
good. Yeah,
I appreciate being here very much.
good. Thank you. It's way better than Kenmore. Okay, so 4th of July report. We've got the deputy fire chief and the acting police chief.
All right, good evening. Doug McDonald, Operations Chief, Deputy Chief with Bothell Fire. Brief overview of our 4th of July operations that we had. Your fire department was staffed with 15 on-duty firefighters for a 24-hour period over the 4th of July from 8 in the morning until 8 in the morning on the 5th, that period of the July 4th. We had 4 in-service fire engines. We had 2 staffed aid units, a fire battalion chief, and during the parade, we added for our second year a mobile bike patrol with an AED out there in the event of a cardiac event. And as you heard, we did not have any major events through the parade or throughout the day. So that was a real success. But having that available and to our citizens out there is a big perk for everybody. We brought in 1 extra engine company based on overtime to up the staffing for that day to make sure that we had the resources necessary within the city of Bothell and Fire District 10. Interesting, through the period of July 1st through the 5th, we started really looking at all our call volumes, any type of fireworks related calls. All of our fireworks related incidents occurred on July 4th. So the period of July 1st through the 5th, we had all of our incidents were on July 4th only. We had a total of 80 incidents through July 1 through the 5th. On July 4th, we had a total of 26 incidents, and that was both medical and fire-related incidents. On July 4th, like I said, we had 4 fireworks-related fires, all brush fires or vegetation fires. And we had 1 firework-related injury, and that individual was transported to Harborview Medical Center for some facial injury associated with fireworks. Happy to say no firefighter injuries associated with the fireworks or fire response or suppression. Again, happy to say no reported damage to any city property. The personal property that was damaged was all vegetation, some trees, some brush, about $2,300 in loss, and then no commercial property damage. Wanted to talk about a little associated costs of the fire department. We upstaffed to make sure we had the associated resources there, and I'll just cover this quickly. Our firefighter EMT bike team was $583.90, and bringing on 2 firefighters and 1 firefighter or 1 lieutenant is what we staff an engine company with 3 total for a 24-hour period was just south of $7,000. This unit that was staffed with overtime actually responded to all 4 of those fires, along with other units within our department on the 4th of July. And with that, I'll take some questions, or I can answer it after Chief Suberlick as a combined. So.
No? All right, I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
The one of your slides there, it said the 88 incidences between July 1 through July 5th. I just want to make sure people understand. So that has nothing to do with fireworks. That's just in total, grand total. That's what we did
Total.
as a fire department in those dates.
Yeah, between July 1st and the 5th, that's a total medical, any 911 call, not specific to fireworks. It's just total calls for the fire department during that time frame, 1st to the 5th, total of 80 incidents.
And same with that second bullet. Those aren't actual fireworks-related incidences. It's just what you did that day.
Correct, both fire and medical. And dropped to the third there, we had 4 fireworks-related fires and 1 medical out of those 26.
Yeah, you got my heart rate going. I was like, there's 80 incidents. All right, that was my questions. Oh, Councilmember McNeil.
Thank you, Mayor. So out of curiosity, do we staff up every year for this?
We have the last 2 years, since I've been here, the last 2 4th of Julys, we've staffed up in preparation. We had we anticipate we've had house fires associated with that. With North Shore Fire and Kirkland and Woodinville Fire, there's concerns with multiple alarms going on or multiple incidents and not having the resources. So we have staffed up for those days to help support the potential. The last 4th of July, we did have a house fire around that 9:00 p.m. Area, and it did tap our resources. And that additional engine company was very beneficial to continue that coverage in the city. And we don't want to expect our surrounding agencies to be covering our city for hours and hours and hours. We shoot for usually that 1 hour before we get additional resources in within Bothell to try to staff that back up, our own personnel.
Great. And then last question, have you had any communications with the other cities surrounding us on what their call volumes were?
So I can provide you that information. I'll get that. I have spoke with the operations chiefs, and no one has reported at our last meeting any significant, like, oh my gosh, we were overwhelmed or anything like this year. I want to say we were a little bit lucky with the weather, the way it turned. It did help us out.
You have another one? Councilmember Agnew? Oh, no, you don't? Yes, no?
So you just said we got a little bit lucky with the weather. How would you categorize this 4th of July?
Not to speculate too much, but I would say, looking at our previous numbers, 2015 we had 45 incidents on the 4th of July. Not specific to fireworks, but total incidents. 2017 we had 32. 2018 we had 28, and this year we had 26. So I would say when we got lucky, the weather, the moisture was a little bit more into the vegetation. Obviously, we still had 4 vegetation fires. It was still, but I would just say for our responses, personnel, lack of injuries, one significant one to Harborview, that's one too many. But as far as fire goes, we felt that we were prepared, and we had the resources there to handle the emergencies that we were provided.
Were most of the fires vegetation fires at night, or did we have them scattered throughout the day?
I believe we had 1 earlier in the day and 3 in the evening, and they were all vegetation fires or into the tree.
Thank you.
You bet.
Councilmember Zorns?
This may be a police question, or it could be your department. Sure. You said there were no damages to city property or commercial property. I know the school districts had, no fireworks. Were there any problems with fireworks going into school property that we know of?
I would say fire, we did not have any dispatches to any of the schools or anything like that, but I would defer to police on that.
I spent most of my time up in the north end of the city, working with the firework team around Frank Love in that area. That place has kind of been a hotbed of activity in the past. They had it pretty much locked down, so nobody was really able to get out of the fields and the parking lots where they've been before. Haven't received a whole lot of information from the school district that there were issues. We had, I think, 2 situations where we responded to, I think, people setting off fireworks on school property. But when we got there, I think they were gone.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, I think that's it for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now for the police.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council. I am Ken Suberlek. I am not the Chief of Police yet. I just want to point that out. She's still in charge, at least until Friday. I'll go over my presentation here. This presentation focuses primarily on just the firework enforcement that we did that evening, outside of the parade assignments. So on day shift on July 4th, we staffed 1 sergeant, 4 officers, 6A to 6P. We normally would try to staff more than that, but staffing has been a challenge for the last few years. But now that we have the levy in place, we're starting to get people on board. So staffing's a little more than it was last year. Night shift, again, 6P to 6 a.m. was 2 sergeants and 5 officers. So we were able to add an extra sergeant, extra officer this year for firework enforcement. And in addition, this year we were actually able to field a firework enforcement team of 2 officers working in individual cars in addition to the normal staffing, whose sole purpose was just responding to firework calls. We haven't been able to do that for a couple of years due to staffing, so I was pleased to get that up and running this year. And again, in addition to that, I worked with them probably for the first half of their shift to try to assist them. So between the 28th of June and July 7th, there were 82 fireworks calls generated, 70 of which occurred on July 4th. And you can see the breakdown of the calls leading up to the 4th. And not a whole lot of activity for us. Not to say that that wasn't going on, it's just not being reported to us. "40 calls involved complaints of fireworks outside of the legal hours, and this is a breakdown of the hours and the calls for service that came in. And you can see how it ramps up beginning at 9 p.m. and through midnight. The midnight indicator is from midnight on, so that'd be after 12 p.m. or a.m. This is just a little bit of a snippet of some of the calls that the firework enforcement team responded to. We had 14 911 calls. We had 57 business line calls, and we had 11 officer-initiated calls between the 28th and July 7th. Of those, this is just a snippet of some of the things we responded to. 15 calls were general complaints about fireworks. 13 calls were investigated and determined to be unfounded. Where in those type of calls, it's reported that somebody's setting off illegal fireworks. We get there and determine that they're not illegal fireworks. Or that they're setting them off and it's potentially outside of town, outside the city. 6 involved specific complaints of suspected illegal fireworks where they believe that a neighbor was actually setting off something illegal. And I would like to point out, during the enforcement period, all of the fireworks that we observed were all legal fireworks. Of all the residences we responded to. That's not to say they didn't set them off. There's a challenge because it's dark out. We have to witness things going off. Neighbors aren't real inclined to point out their neighbors when we're walking around asking questions on the 4th. But everybody that we contacted at those residences had legal fireworks. 5 involved complaints of fireworks being ignited at city parks. We did make contact with one individual up north who said she was unaware that she couldn't let fireworks off in the park, and we turned her around and pointed her right at the sign that was right next to her. 2 involved complaints of fireworks being ignited at schools. Again, we did not seize any illegal fireworks. We did not issue any citations for illegal fireworks. We did give out 8 warnings, though. And the warnings would come in setting things off outside of hours where fireworks are allowed. Any questions?
You ready for this on Friday?
I think so.
Good. I'm sure you'll do great. No questions, it looks like. We peppered the fire department, but we trust you guys, I guess. I don't know.
I would like to add.
Sorry.
I would like to add that we recognize that people are setting off illegal fireworks. It is very difficult to catch them, primarily when it's hours of darkness and responding to the areas that we're getting the complaints. Many legal fireworks act the same way as some of these illegal fireworks. You still can buy mortars at a legal fireworks stand that goes up in the air and makes a loud noise. And I totally understand the people that are frustrated with the noise. They're legal fireworks, you know, that we're contacting. We look at the warning labels, we verify that they're safe and sane, and that they've been purchased legally. So I'm not saying that we don't have illegal fireworks going off in town, but we were not able to seize any or catch anybody with them.
So you waited long enough. We have a question from the Deputy Mayor.
You just answered it. I'm good, thanks.
There we go. See? Awesome. You're ready. You're ready for Friday. Okay. Moving on. City Manager and Council Committee reports. How are we doing, Kelly?
Doing great. I don't have any tonight.
Okay. Council Committee reports. Deputy Mayor.
I have one on the Transportation Policy Board. Let's see. So we had probably the most interesting discussion this week was on the road usage charge study, which is not very popular, but our financial strategy for regional transportation relies on road usage charges. I can't say it. So the cost recovery on gas tax is 4%. Tolls is 40 to 50, and road usage is 16 to 18. So when it comes to recovering the cost of putting something in place, road usage is actually better than tolls. There's only currently one other state that's doing that or has already implemented road usage charges, and that's Oregon. I think it's voluntary though, so there are only 1,000 people in Oregon who are doing that. But we have the legislature had asked for a study, and so I expect the study will either extend or some sort of decisions will be made in the next year or two. The gas tax is diminishing in returns, and with that, I think the state has decided that there's no other way to pay for ongoing maintenance and transportation costs. So I expect that's going to be something really big in the next year or two. It's not popular, however, with the study, people, once they learned about it, kind of acclimated and accepted it. Currently, our gas tax is 49.4 cents, and only 8% of that, or 8 cents of that, is toward maintenance and preservation. The rest is already obligated to projects that have mostly been done. So there is a looming issue, and especially as plug-in electric vehicles become more popular, obviously they're not paying gas tax. So I think I'll stop with that. The only other thing we discussed is the Vision 2050 draft review, which we've talked about ad nauseum, and then there's a passenger-only ferry study that's ongoing. So that's it for Transportation Policy Board.
Councilmember Zorns.
Yeah, CTC met this last week, the Campus Town Community Advisory Committee, and there wasn't anything really especially illuminating going on there. We did have comment on ST3 and their plan for what they want to do on the portion of between 110th and 108th for 185th improvements. And I did ask them about how they were going to juxtapose, as they cross Beardsley, where 185th crosses Beardsley, how they were going to mesh up with our new and shiny fire station that's coming in, and they haven't figured out how that's going to happen when they're running buses every 10 minutes. So no solutions, but I put that on the table to keep that out in the forefront. The other thing is, and maybe as a city we might find a way to look to recruit, they're wanting more community involvement from people who live on Circle Drive. I mean, this is just a public service announcement right now. Ross Road, residents at Village Beardsley Crossing, Parkhurst, the Mercantile, 104, the Addition Apartment, Six Oaks, and the Junction to participate in the meetings at CTC and be there for comment and feedback. So, and that probably won't be till this fall. But they're serious about trying to recruit people from those areas.
All right, that's it for committee reports. Councilmember McNeil will bring up some committee reports, but he wants to talk about them during council conversation, so more power. Visitor comment. This is, each person addressing the council will give his or her name in an audible tone of voice for the record, and unless the council grants further time, should limit the address to 3 minutes. No person other than the council and the person having the floor will be permitted to enter into any discussion either directly or through a member of the council without the permission of the mayor. And I have sign-up sheets. First one is Janelle Lowen.
Hi, I'm Janelle Lowen. I live at 10828 Northeast 183rd Court. This is the Sunrise neighborhood. We Bothell citizens in the Sunrise neighborhood needed your protection, and we did not get it. We are really suffering. I am dressed in black, mourning over our beloved 68 trees. On July 5th and 6th, we neighbors were forced to endure the buzz-sawing of these beautiful, living, 100-year-old, 125-foot majestic trees cut down. We listened to and saw them fall one by one, ripping, moaning, and falling into the earth with earthquake concussions. We have cracks in our ceiling and walls. We heard this 68 times. I personally have never suffered such horrific nervous trauma in my life. Our spirits are destroyed, as is our environment protection, beauty, ambience, and is our trust in the democratic goodness of human community. We are now sick of heart and very depressed. And for what? A 4-story parking garage that could have been built on already paved areas far away from our neighborhoods. The underlying message from Megan Walker, Kelly Snyder, UW Regents, and the college administrators truly is, life is for corporations, institutions, and administration resumes. If you're a human neighbor, just die. Cascadia Community College and UWB and Bothell Council gave permits, yes, but it is unethical and brutally wrong, especially at a time when the UW-Seattle's Environment and Health Sciences departments released these findings, quote, "Our environmental situation is dire, and we can no longer continue to do business as usual," unquote. So how can administrations of such entities be so two-faced? How can both these institutions who give degrees in environmental science, environmental law, ethics, community relations, culture, higher civilized logic, and acting let their administrators do this horrible, deathly thing? I don't think they even know. The cutting of these trees went much farther north in the truly uplands than I or any of my neighbors were led to believe. Only at the very last meeting was it subtly announced that more trees needed to be cut down for more paving over. Not all of us were at this meeting or stayed to talk. It was too upsetting. We neighbors who passionately protested a 6-story dorm on this raw ground, this forest, within 30 feet of our 30-year existing homes, were and are still vehemently against a 4-story football-sized parking garage. But Cascadia Community College somehow received funding for this polluting garage and convinced the city council to okay it. I hope that the city has some sort of reciprocal agreement with these colleges. I hope you will make sure that Cascadia Community at UW makes sure they plant at least 20 trees for every one they cut down. They should truly make sure we neighbors have a green buffer board or two that truly does block all sight, light, and noise from this horrendous parking garage, as promised from them and promised by previous architects and engineers. This was to be
Ms. Lowen,
done.
could you wrap up your comments, please?
I have just a sentence. This was to be done before any construction began. From my neighbor's home, all they see now is a war-torn landscape. And for some of us, we need reassurance, given verbally by Kelly Snyder on at least 3 occasions.
Could you wrap up your comments, please?
In
That's
front
more
of
than
all
enough sentence.
neighbors and city, that the rest of this forest on the north side of the Truly property will not be destroyed in any way and will even be enhanced with original undergrowth and the pond enhanced as well. I would like this in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Catherine Poklani? Padani.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Padani. I live at 10820 Northeast 183rd Court in Bothell. And we live behind the UW Bothell campus and right where they're building the parking garage. And on June 29th, we received an email from Cascadia College and UW Bothell, and it starts, "Greetings from Cascadia. Summer has arrived, increased level of construction. The tree impacts, approximately 25 trees must be removed from the construction site to allow construction for the new parking structure. All possible efforts were made to retain existing trees that could safely remain during and after construction. Additional new trees will be planted in the buffer once construction is complete." Then on July 12th, after the trees were removed, the 68 trees, we receive an email from the university saying, "We recognize that last weekend was a difficult one for many of you and regret the error in our communication that minimized the number of trees to be removed. We are redoubling our efforts to ensure this doesn't happen again." Surprise, surprise. Following is a status report and look at the weeks ahead. Tree impacts. 68 trees were removed from the site to prepare for construction of the new parking structure in accordance with the permit and plan shared previously with the community. So what is the difference? There's a huge difference between 25 trees and 68 trees. And a big difference between being told on June 29th that they were going to take out 25, and then, oh, we made a mistake and we had to take out 68 trees. It was earth-shattering. It felt like the earthquake that we experienced last week. And I'd like to know from the council, were they permitted to take out 28 trees, or the 25 trees, or were they permitted to take out 68 trees? And were they permitted to take out 100-year-old growth trees, or were they permitted to take out certain types and low underbrush? Also, the 30-foot buffer that they were planning to give us was removed. So right now, we do not have a 30-foot buffer. And if they would have kept to their plan of planning the buffer 3 to 5 years ago, we would have a buffer right now, but we don't. Instead, we have sight lines to buildings. And no buffer that they build now, it's going to take at least 20 years or more for that to cover up the 4-story parking garage. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mazzulli, could you get her one of your business cards so we can have staff follow up with them on the permit?
Community Development Director Michael Cotterman was taking notes and would be more than happy to get with her and answer those questions.
Great, that would be good, thanks. All right, next is Susan Gardner.
I'm Susan Gardner. My husband is a downtown businessman. First off, I want to say the proclamation for Chief Cummings missed the fact that she was a star at Dancing with the North Shore Stars. I do special event planning with Nancy Pipinich and a couple of other people. We do the Tree Lighting Festival, which morphs into the Main Street Magic Festival, or Main Street Magic planning group when we're not planning the tree lighting festival. I will say that I've met with Shelby and I've met with Tracy, and we've had some pretty good meetings. There's a lot of creative energy, as Shelby said, and we look forward to being able to channel some of that into some pretty cool stuff for the city of Bothell. Also, I did a cruise today on Mosquito One, and from Kenmore to Bothell, and someday it will be able to dock in Bothell, and that would be great. I'm here because at the DAC meeting, the Downtown Action Committee meeting, that is a subcommittee of the chamber, we heard that some of the property is going to be sold here in downtown Bothell, and what type of business would move into that. Going back a little bit, my sense is that our city shares this a power separation of powers, much as a lot of governments do. You've got federal, or you've got judicial, you've got executive, and you've got legislative, which is you, the city council, elected by the people to hear the people, I think. And so I want to say that things like the Wayne Golf Course are an example of listening to the people and giving them what they really desire. Another example is maybe the parking garage, which after the head tax debacle in Seattle, it seems like all of a sudden we got an official go-ahead with parking forever in the City Hall garage, which is great. So I'm going to talk about the current issue, my current issue, which is the land there, and ask that if you care about representing your citizens, if you care about serving the residents of the apartment buildings and shag housing that you have encouraged to be built here in this city, if you care about the environment and providing services that are accessible by walking and not requiring people to drive to get those services or to have those services delivered to them, adding a little more pollution, then maybe you would ask the apartment dwellers what, all of them, and Karen with the Merck was listing all of the apartments that are here and coming online, ask them what they want and need. And if you have to sell the property for not the highest cost, but because you're trying to make their quality of life better for them, and you know they love living in Bothell, then perhaps you should do a survey. I am willing to help with that survey, and I just offer my services. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I have no other sign-up sheets. Does anybody else want to provide public comment? Go ahead, come up to the podium and give your name for the record.
Janice Newman. I live at 10826 Northeast 183rd Court. I swear I would never talk in front of the council again. When the Truly property was first being sold, I did it once. I'm thankful to the council members that have, one of whom is gone. I guess I better get my glasses on. That listen to our concerns and pleas for help with saving the upper west end of the campus property. When the college first proposed dorms to be built, we were aghast since the upper west end of the property was never supposed to be built upon. We pulled out old documents to present since the college seemed to never have heard of that promise. Many times I and others have shown direct quotes from EIS studies stating that the forest would be enhanced, protected, and maintained. Certainly not chopped down and bulldozed as if it was nothing. Of course, the famous buffer that was never done years ago also was brought up a lot. I never had one person, either from the college or council, even comment on those written promises and why those written promises seemed to mean nothing when it came down to saving the forest. Other than the obvious feelings of extreme devastation and destruction of our neighborhood beauty and living, I do have a few comments. Verbal promises have been made that no more of the forest will be taken down. Is there a way that council or city can make this a more legal promise? And I'm talking about from the college, that they said they would save the north end. Assurances in the past that the west end would not be developed obviously meant little. The location to build this garage is said to be the best option. I can only piece together that the main reasons are it's cheaper, less parking lost during the construction, and just easier overall. I find it appalling that those or whatever other reasons could warrant destroying part of a remaining forest that wasn't supposed to be developed. I cannot help but think there were other options on where to build this garage. With all the surface parking already in existence, it is hard to believe building could not have been done there. Again, expense was one reason given. We are all guilty of destroying forest land simply by living in homes, but this particular forest was not supposed to be developed. Let's do something to ensure the remaining forest is truly protected and saved. Thanks.
Is there anybody else that would like to provide public comment? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda. So AB 19-120 and AB 19-125 have been pulled. Is there a motion to approve the remainder?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councilmember Agnew. Any discussion on the motion? Councilmember McNeil?
Yes. I think, a comment on the motion?
Oh, yeah, well, I had, everybody wants to go. All right.
No, I wanted to make a comment on something that we didn't pull.
Sure.
Is
go ahead.
Is this my time?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, it's just real briefly. It's for AB 19127, the Metro Community Van Alternative Service Demonstration. I would just appreciate, this is coming before us again in December. Did I see that? We got a 6-month, any rate. When it comes before us again, I would love to see data on this, because my memory of this when it initially went into place was that it wasn't doing so well. And yet what we had said that it was doing well, and so I would love numbers to see how much the Metro van is being used. And I know we have fall quarter that's hitting, and so if it's coming before us in December, that would be a good time to get data.
I believe that's what Councilmember McNeil was going to ask too, so 2 birds with 1 stone. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, place your vote. Passes unanimously with Councilmember McAuliffe absent and excused. First item pulled was AB 19-120, suspend the rules of recording for July 19th, 2019, and the July 24, 2019 special meetings. I can't remember who pulled this one. Was that Councilmember Zorns? Okay, you have the floor.
I talked to our assistant city manager about speaking to this, and I thought that we would be able to be ahead of the concern, but social media was already buzzing about why was this being pulled. So I would just appreciate you explaining to the public why we are suspending recording this.
Absolutely, Mayor, Council. The reason we are requesting for this, to suspend the rules of recording for these meetings, is that they're workshop-like in nature. So this is something that we have done in the past. They are planning, the consultants that we are bringing in are planning on doing small group conversations, which don't lend themselves easily to recording or watching those recordings for citizens. These meetings will be open to the public, though. That's why they're being put out as special meetings. So they are aware. They are more than, they will have the opportunity to come and join us in the audience if they would like. There's also going to be some additional opportunities for both of these different items to have public engagement in the fall, and those are coming forward. There will be more details as those are available from the consultants and from city staff on our website.
Thank you.
We got to make the motion now that you pulled it.
All right, I move that we approve AB 19-124, the amendments to the existing consent decree. Oh, sorry.
Oh, wrong one.
You know, that cup of coffee this morning, it's lost its own. I move that we approve AB 19-120, suspending the rules of recording for July 19th, 2019, and July 24th, 2019 special meetings.
Second.
It's moved by Councilmember Zorn, second by Councilmember Agnew to suspend the rules for recording for July 19, 2019 and July 24, 2019 special meetings. Any discussion on the motion? I just want to re-emphasize what the Assistant City Manager said. Anybody and everybody's welcome. That's why we advertise our meetings. It's just impossible to record 4 different conversations at the same time, unless you have like a split screen. I don't know. We could try maybe someday. It'd be fun to watch. Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, place your vote. Passes unanimously with Councilmember McAuliffe absent and excused. The other item pulled was AB 19-125, and that was the Deputy Mayor. Did you want me to cover for you, Deputy Mayor? All right, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. So she pulled this because she thought I wanted it pulled, but I can pull the agenda items. But this work that's going to create an opportunity for Park Creek to actually stay out of the roadbed is huge. I've been in the stormwater industry for 20 years, and I get harassed almost every week at work about that road having water on it and permanently blocked. So I just want to thank staff for getting this done, and that it's going to be open, both lanes open in the near future. So thank you. I can't make a motion to move it, though.
I'll do that. I recommend we authorize the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Cummings Construction in substantially the same form as included in the bid documents and in the amount of $171,573. Is that right? Because there's another comma. For the 102nd Stormwater Retrofit and Park Creek Temporary Measure projects.
Second.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilmember Zorns, to authorize the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Cummings Construction in substantially the same form as included in the bid documents and in the amount of $171,573 for the 102nd Stormwater Retrofit Park Creek Temporary Measure projects. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please your vote. Passes unanimously with Councilmember McAuliffe absent and excused. And we are on to the end of the meeting. Council conversations. Councilmember McNeil.
Thank you, Mayor. Quite a few here, updates. First one is Regional Policy Committee. We had a brief discussion around homelessness in the state in which Seattle and King County is going to potentially, here in August, do an ILA between the two of them on homelessness. Some of the concern with SCA cities and the caucus is that if they do that interlocal agreement, what does that mean for cities outside of Seattle, and where will that funding go? So we're paying close attention to it. There's probably more there will be more to come on it. But one of the things we want to make sure is that whatever funding that King County is putting towards that ILA is not pulling funding from other cities, because the cities around the region have different types of homelessness, and we want to make sure that we're addressing all of those issues versus just one city within King County. We had a brief discussion around the voter registration and voting system update that took place. Julie Weiss came and gave us an update, and it was a very interesting briefing about what has happened with the new system, some of the issues that they had with the system, kicking people off that lived in apartments. So 50% of the stuff that they did for the first 2 weeks had issues, so they've now corrected them. And hopefully by the time the ballots go out, everything will be fixed. They're saying that it should be fixed, but she was less than impressed with the issues that they had tried to implement a new system during a primary. With that said, July 29th is the deadline for mail-in online registrations. August 6th is Election Day, and you will be able to do in-person up until 8:00 p.m. Voting. Next up, we had a PIC meeting where we talked about the House Bill 1406, state sales tax, credit affordable housing. I sent that briefing to everybody. Kelly informed me today that there's some additional work the city staff is doing. They'll give us a little bit better update whether or not we want to also take that on. What that does is gives us some of the sales tax back that we can use towards affordable housing. Other cities like Kenmore and Federal Way, they've already started to pass that resolution so they can start to get that funding back within their city. Kenmore, the Mayor David Baker mentioned that they're going to use some of their funding to give to Arch. So I think that's something we should probably take a look at when it comes back from staff. Levies and ballot measures, we learned about at PIC. Also, something interesting that came up was there's a ballot measure coming forward here from Shoreline for an aquatic center. They're going to put that on the November 2019 ballot for an aquatic center. Also, King County has their regional parks. I think it's $810 million levy that's going out. They had sent a letter to us. I don't know if everybody got that letter, but it was more of a letter around, do we want to support as a city that parks levy? So I wanted to get everybody's stance on that, whether or not we want to send that letter in support of it. Let's see here. Sorry, I got quite a bit here. Charter review. So we also had a briefing on the Regional Policy Committee about this as well, but the charter review, which I believe we're trying to get our staff an update on this as well, but there's talk about King County taking away the structure in which SCA, Sound Cities Association, council members and or electeds are part of those committees. And SCA, the structure regional committees, is against that wholeheartedly. Most of the cities, most council members have said that they're not interested in giving up their seat at the table, and that they would like to see the charter actually follow the charter rules and ensure that instead of being more of a briefing, that it's more of a discussion and gaining or ascertaining what these different cities are looking for, so we can make suggestions to them and they're following those suggestions as a whole. Right now, it's more of just they give us briefings, we're hearing from them, and we're kind of being told what they're going to do. So that goes to the Regional Transit Committee, Water Quality Committee, and the Regional Policy Committee. So those three committees are the ones that they're talking about at this time. And then we get into the beloved Senior Center. I want to thank Councilmember Olson and Agnew for attending the meetings. We're starting to get an uptick in the partners all being at the table. We have a lot of work to do. The facilities are in very poor condition. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow night to discuss some options on how we can get funding, short-term funding. We had a grant that was awarded to us from the state for $500,000. That is a reimbursement fund, so we need to actually put the money out first and then get reimbursed those funds. King County has offered to do that. Unfortunately, it comes with a 2% loan rate, so we need to figure that piece of it out. We need to figure out funding beyond the state funding. We are out right now. We have an RFP out. We're looking at the facility itself to see what condition it's in. We're hopefully going to get that update here pretty soon. There's a potential for a levy, discussions around doing a 6-year levy, 3 cents up to 6 cents. So those are just discussions. There's nothing that we're going to do that or not. But these are, our senior center needs some work, and there's some pretty heavy discussions that are taking place that have not taken place over the past 20 years. So I will have more of an update for you after our next meeting, and make sure that this city manager, assistant city manager, gets that out to you guys. So those are my updates.
Since it's conversation, so there are a couple things. In the past, we generally have not endorsed or backed other people's levies. So like the King County Parks levy. Not that we can't change that going forward, but just as a standard operating thing, we never endorsed the school levy, for example. I don't believe we have endorsed any levies that I can think of, not even our own. Well, I guess we endorse it by, I'm looking at you, Paul.
I think they were asking for a proclamation. Sorry, Mayor.
Just a proclamation in support of
In support of it, yes.
That's kind of well, I guess I consider that the same. Like, we'd be officially supporting, I guess a proclamation would be me supporting it. But, so that, and then the thing about the North Shore Senior Center. So I've been in contact with Rod Dembowski, and I talked to you a little bit too. I just want to caution the three that are on there just to be thoughtful about making sure if whenever you pick whatever election date that you want to put that out on, or the ballot that you want to put that out on, make sure there's ample time for the NPRSA to organize itself around like educating the community. And one of the things that I have concern about is just making sure there's actual operational money so that we don't end up in the same situation after we fix it all up and then it just doesn't get maintained again. So just kind of having our head around like how much does that actually cost? Because it would be horrible to go back out and say, well, we said 3 sets the first time, but we really need 6 sets or whatever. So I just want to make sure you guys heard my opinion on that. I'm not on the board, so I can't do anything about it, but I just know from working on levies, just even that the city's communication piece about just what the levy is a pretty hefty lift. So, okay, that's my conversation. Do you want to, Deputy Mayor?
I was just going to briefly mention, I attended the North End Mayor's meeting today, and it was really exciting because Shoreline, Issaquah, and Kenmore all have affordable housing projects going in, and 2 of them have actual units that are 30% AMI, which is really a big deal, a really, really big deal, because most of, I think, what's being built is around 180. So a lot of what they found successful is the multifamily tax exemption, which I know we're working on for later in the year, but that's a big piece of I guess how they've been able to package them. So, and the other thing that I thought was super interesting was in Shoreline, they actually passed an ordinance requiring built green housing around transit. So, and they said it pencils out. So I, of course, would love to see something like that in Bothell along the BRT line, but I hadn't heard of that happening before, so I thought that was worth mentioning because climate change is real. Anyway, and then I do know a couple cities did choose to endorse the parks levy, so that was something I was going to bring up as well.
Councilmember Zorns?
Okay, so I told Deputy Mayor Dewar that you might want to set the timer for me like 3 or 4 minutes on this. I'm joking. I'll try to keep this reasonably brief. One is Sustainamania. We didn't announce that, and we're not going to be back. And so people should go to Sustainamania August 10th, 10 to 2, because there's something there for everyone on simplifying your life and making it greener in the process. And then another thing that this is just another community service announcement. One of our neighbors here in the city had commented about how bright the city of Bothell's sky is at night. And we do have, and I think we had mentioned it once before, where we turn our lights out for an hour, that something that might be enjoyable for the community on an individual level is to find a way to darken your piece of Bothell sky during the Perseid meteor shower. So, turn off some extra lights off outside, take your blankets, throw it on the lawn, and watch the Perseid meteor shower. You'll end up with some wonderful summer memories. It's between September 23rd through August 20th, with the peak being August 30th. And then also, I have to thank our parks for Shakespeare in the Park, because that was fun last week. I really enjoyed that. The other piece is that we are moving forward with trying to do fundraising for a canine tracking dog. Carol said, Chief Cummings said it was her dream when she came on that we would have a tracking dog. And so I am working with some other cities that have done some fundraising for canine. And I miss that being here in Bothell. And so I'll keep you up to date on that. And then the last is, I had asked to, and it's very low resolution, but just to bring examples of what community signs for our neighborhoods here in Bothell might look like. And they're low key, and I would love us at some point to find ways to bring that so that neighborhoods can decide they want to identify themselves as historically significant to the city and build a sense of community. Woody's First Edition, they've been waiting to be designated a historic district. This is not necessarily to designate a historic district, but just a neighborhood in Bothell. So at some point, when we have the bandwidth, I would love us to entertain this. And that's my 3 or 4 minutes.
Since it's a conversation.
Yes.
Speaking as a former Landmark Board member, I think it's a great idea. It's just a matter of timing and bandwidth, in my mind.
Right, and finding ways for how somebody goes, we went to.
And Woody's first edition, I think, has been waiting at least 5 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, because I was the chair when that first came up. It's been a while.
So we need to fish or cut bait on that. That's in my
No,
humble
we
opinion.
just need to fish.
Yes, well, that's being nice, fish or cut bait, but yeah. That's a long time to be patient.
Any other conversations? Good over here? Good over here? Oh, yeah, we're done. Motion to adjourn. No, wait, somebody has to make the motion. Sorry.
So moved.
There's no discussion on that one. Place your vote. Is that true? Is there no discussion on a motion to adjourn? Somebody told me that.
You can discuss it.
That's what I thought. Yeah, somebody else told me, like, no, there's no discussion on
I think we should adjourn.
Their general isn't.
All right, place your vote. Oh, come on, Tom. Passes 5 in the affirmative. Councilmember Agnew is in the negative. Councilmember McAuliffe is absent. Excused. We are adjourned.